Hey everyone, the story you're about to hear is my story. It's a hard story to tell. It's got a lot of embarrassing moments for me, but I had to tell the truth. Otherwise, it's not going to be a real story. There's a segment in the story that I talk about betrayal in the gang. I'm not talking about the whole gang. I'm not talking about anybody else in the gang. I'm talking about the crew that I was in charge of, that aren't a crew anymore. I've got a lot of love and respect for the brothers that I grew up with and spent a lot of years with. So I don't want to disrespect or upset anybody. It's a positive story. It's not a negative story. It's a story about my life. It's a story about some bad times, depression, suicide, spiritual awakening and adversity. So I hope it helps people that can relate to it, and hope you enjoy it. Thanks everyone.
Welcome back to the Social Wildlife. This month we have Kev on the podcast, Kev Ngawhare.
Yep.
Kev is a friend. We met recently through a mutual friend, and Kev spent the better part of 30 years in a gang in New Zealand. You were quite high up at one point in the gangs. Is that right?
Yes.
And so that was in Hawke's Bay and Christchurch. So he exited the gang scene maybe 3 years ago and has been working on himself since. And I thank you for coming on the show.
Great, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me, Josh.
No worries, man. Do you want to tell us, just maybe start by sharing a bit about where you grew up and a little bit about like what your early life was like?
Yeah, I grew up in Napier. I was born in Waipaka in Central Hawke's Bay. Grew up in Napier. I had a good family and a good home.
Yep.
Hard working family. We weren't rich or anything, but I had 4 sisters and a brother. Mostly older. I had my oldest sister, Linda. Then I had a brother, Martin, who were like 9 years older than me, 8, 9 years older than me. Then I had another sister, Maria, and another sister, Sharon, after that, and then me, and then our younger sister, Tanya. So,
right.
Yeah. So I had a good, loving family, and my father was a heavy drinker and a heavy gambler. So that caused a lot of strife in my parents' life and things like that. My mum sort of looked after us. Mostly my father was always either working, but he, in saying that though, he was a good man. He was a good dad, good loving father and that, but he just had a couple of a drinking problem and a gambling problem.
I see. Which
caused a lot of stress on my mother and my father's relationship, I think.
Yep.
So there was a lot of fighting and arguing and that as well. Not like once for warriors or anything, but it was, even though I grew up around a lot of that, but not between my mum and dad, it was just a lot of fighting and drunk arguments.
Right.
But
I remember you saying something about, was it there was other parents or things, other families that you knew of that kind of stuff was happening, eh?
Yeah. When I grew up, I grew up in Raianui and Napier, so it was quite a big gang presence in that area. And my mates who I went to school with, they actually most of my mates ended up in the gang as well.
Right.
And even young at primary school and things like that. My mates who I lived my next door neighbours and my schoolmates that I hung around with, they were like I know, for example, my mate Mike, who lived one house away from me, I'd go and play with him. He was quite mischief though, but tough. He was the toughest in our school. Everywhere we went, he was the toughest guy. Really good sportsman and that, but he grew up really hard.
Right.
So I'd go and play over at his house, and his father would come home, and he'd get beaten up like a man. He'd get thrown around the house, punched over.
Really?
And his old man was tough too. You know?
And you watched that happen?
I seen that happen. Right. It was very scary when you're a little kid.
Oh, I bet it was. Yeah.
You're talking under 10, and
right.
So you'd see that. But then again, he'd get a hell of a hiding, and then the next day he'd be driving his old man's little Morris Minor on his way to school, and he was driving it as a child, and I go, "What are you doing? You're going to get a hell of a hiding."
And he's taking it out.
Yeah, this is like the day after. So this is probably why he used to get. This is why he used to get beaten in that probably. Yeah. But the beatings that he got were not. They wouldn't. A man wouldn't be able to take some of these beatings.
Right.
They were pretty bad.
Yep.
And I had a few mates that were brought up like that.
Right.
Luckily, I wasn't. I was not sort of subject to that sort of family life, but when I was young, but I saw a lot of it.
Yeah. And I guess the world was a different place back then, eh?
Yeah.
Like it happens now. Don't get me wrong, but I think that there was less in terms of support and coping strategies
and the laws
and all
were
that
different
to do.
back then. You know?
Yeah, true.
If someone reported someone giving their child a hiding, and the cops turned up, they just sort of tear you off.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any laws against it.
No, that's right.
Unless you killed them.
Yeah. I mean, everyone was doing it, so it was kind of like, yeah. I remember when we spoke. We've obviously spoken earlier. I mean, you mentioned something about you lost your brother quite early in your life. Could you tell me a bit about that, maybe, and just how it impacted you?
Yeah, it was definitely a life changer for me. I just turned 13, and saying this, my brother, when he died, he died 5 days after his 21st birthday,
right.
And I had just turned 13, so that was the age difference.
Yeah.
My brother always looked out for me. He was my protector. He was the one that taught me about life, that showed me things.
Yep.
So I absolutely idolised my brother. He'd take me for rides on his motorbike. He'd play fight with me. He'd protect me when I'd have a fight or get beaten up by kids down at the park or whatever. He'd come and sort of stick up for me, and they'd all run off or he'd fight for me, if they were older kids.
Yep.
But so he was always my protector and my mentor, and I just loved him so much. When my father would come home with parties, or my brother, because they would go to pubs and things like that with my father and that, and they'd come home with a party, and I'd think, oh, good party, and then I'd get all excited. So I think I'm trying to get in there with them. And I mean, this is at like age 10, 11, those sort of ages. And I used to love it when they'd come home with parties. It was exciting for me. So I'd try and get all of them in amongst it. And my father would yell at me and tell me to get to bed. Yeah. And I'd sort of get real sad. I mean, this is just an example of one of the things. And then I'd go to bed and I'd be like sitting crying in my bed. And then my brother would come in. My brother would come in and sit on the bed next to me, and he'd explain stuff to me like, bro, it's not your time yet. You're going to have your time. Yeah. It's just a bit early. Just don't worry about it.
Oh, what a good man.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah, he was good. And like he was just... like he was everything to me. I idolised him, like I said, and so he meant a lot to me. So when he died, it definitely changed my life.
Yeah.
When I think back on it, it was it was a shock for all my family. I wasn't the only one that was devastated. My parents, you can imagine parents losing their child.
Oh yeah, it'd be devastating.
It's something I wouldn't wish on anybody. No. And I remember I was home from school that day, and the cops pulled up, and my two of my sisters were there, Sharon and Maria, and the cops knocked at the door. I answered the door. They said, "Oh, is your parents here?" And I said, "No." Maria came to the door, and then they told us both, and I just remember it was just devastating for my whole family. Everyone was just distraught. Yep. Definitely changed all of our lives. I remember everyone came rushing home from work, my parents, my older sisters, and my brother-in-laws, and the whole family was all there. Everyone was just devastated, and I remember standing there. It was like I wasn't there, but I was there, and I was looking around at everybody, and I could see just the devastation of it all and the grief that everyone was going through. Everyone was crying, it was that moment that I felt. I didn't realise it at the time, but thinking back on it now, I felt really alone. I felt really alone because they weren't really. I was sort of. I don't blame my family because they were going through their own grief, but they sort of forgot about me. Yeah. I mean, they thought I was still a bit young. I wouldn't be hurting as much as they were, but I, in truth of it all, I was actually hurting the most. Yeah. Because he was everything to me, like I said, and when we lost him that day, I actually felt unloved that day because I never got hugs. No. Everyone was hugging each other, but they just forgot about me. And I mean, I love my family. I've got a good family. There was that moment that I realised that I just wanted to die. I missed my brother that much. I wanted to die with him. I'd been locked myself in my room for a week. My mother had to come and to eat and things like that. I just wasn't hungry, and I remember my mentality. And I just wanted to die to be with him. Yep. I mean, if there was a heaven or wherever he was, wherever he had gone, I wanted to go there.
Yep.
So I didn't realise this then, but I had gotten abandonment issues from that moment, from those times, and it just completely changed me. I was a really shy, bit of a weird kid, but it's really shy. Like I wouldn't even shit in the house if we had visitors, and we had a big house. I mean, that's how shy I was.
I don't blame you. I probably wouldn't either.
That's how shy I was, and so I hardly spoke, but I was. But after that, it just completely changed. I mean, I was a good child. I wouldn't even steal like 50 cents out of my mum's purse or anything like that. I wouldn't steal a push bike or nothing like that. So, but that completely changed me. That moment. Yeah.
Do you feel like your family knew how much support he provided you?
No, I don't think they did. I don't think they did. I knew, but I don't think they saw it much because he didn't really announce it to everybody. He'd just see it. He'd see it, and then he'd just come and talk to me.
It sounded like it was he was doing the things that they were forgetting to do sometimes, or
exactly.
just overlooking.
And I think it's more just been overlooked really because they had their own lives. They had their own. My older sisters, they all worked. They all worked from when they were 15, 16, and
you can understand too. Being the youngest, it's like your parents would have probably had a lot of learning experiences with the older ones. Yeah. And then as they get older, they get more capable of looking after themselves. Yeah. And as parents, we kind of would be like, okay, I mean, I haven't got to this age yet, but you can imagine you get to a certain age, you just kind of like, okay, I can relax a bit. I don't have to put as much energy into parenting. Yeah. And it's like, it would be easy to overlook the younger ones.
Yeah, I think it was. Well, I wasn't youngest. I was second youngest.
Second youngest.
So I think my youngest sister, she was quite more looked after. I was sort of in that forgotten gap. I see. Yep. But I wasn't forgotten. I mean, I was looked after. I mean, I got all the hand-me-downs.
True. Yeah.
I never looked cool.
There's no shortage of hand-me-downs.
But I misunderstood, I think.
Yeah. So, you mentioned that you also had a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, that was because my brother died from a motorcycle accident.
Right.
So from that moment on, like I said, I wanted to die to be with him. I think subconsciously I just started living dangerously and taking risks and not caring if I lived or died.
Yep.
So I got a motorbike. This is a year after. I think I was only just over a year after. So I was 14 going on 15. And got myself an XR 500, and I got drunk. My mates got drunk. We were having a party, and I thought I'd go and pick up a friend. And so I jumped on this bike, and I was going past my other friend's house, Kelvin. Kelvin Pratt was his name. I had a lot to do with him growing up as well, because he was rich. His parents were millionaires.
Right.
So I grew up. We used to go to the rivers on. He had 2 RM motorbikes, so 2 strokes. So we used to go down the rivers Saturday and Sunday, and that's how I learned how to ride and things like that. So, and I was actually going past his house, and he was loading the bikes up on the trailer, and I stopped, and I was pissed. I was drunk and stoned actually, and I pulled up to his place, and he said, "Oh, is this your new bike?" And he goes, "Let's see how fast it can go. Go wrap it down the street." And I stupid me, right? So I went down the other end of the street, turned around, and I just gave it a full tip. I think I was doing it did like 165 k's or something I was doing. And I forgot all about just past one house past this place was a 30k bend. Yeah. And I just didn't even think about it, just drunk and stupid. And I went full tip down there. And as I went past his house, I turned and waved to him. Yeah. I turned around and I was going off the road up into the driveway on the curb strip, grass strip. And I remember the brakes had really touchy brakes, so I was doing 165 k's, but straight towards a tree, and I had to couldn't really use the brakes. I had to just sort of swerve, just missed that tree, went across the footpath straight, head on into a power pole. Right. Just gave it everything I got, just missed that, and went head on into a big green steel power transformer. So the impact was pretty bad. I tried to fly over the handlebars on impact. The handlebar went into my top of my thigh, went straight through my leg and filled it and ripped right down my leg, just mangled my leg. So, yeah.
Wow.
I got thrown probably about an house and a half. That is how I measured it. House and a half, but I was flying backwards and in slow motion. Everything was frame by frame. It took ages. And when I landed on the ground, which was another miracle, that I sort of landed backwards on my small of my back, and then my head flipped back, which was another miracle because I didn't have the helmet done up, and it was really loose. I had no padding around the front, just on the top. So when I flipped my head back, my helmet hit the gutter and come flying off, which I don't even know. I don't know if I always put it down to centrifugal force when I was flying through kept it on, or someone was looking after me that day. And I actually think more now that someone was looking after me that day.
Because obviously that impact would have done some bad damage.
My friend Kelvin, that I was going past his house, he brought the helmet up to hospital once I woke up a few weeks later, and showed me the helmet, and it was crushed at the back and had a crack right down the middle. So that saved my life.
That would have been you. Yeah.
And also, I think the St. John ambulance who'd moved that day, not that day, just at the process of having a new building in Green Meadows, it was rush hour traffic right at that time, so they took them a long time to get to where I was. It took them 40 minutes to get to where I was.
Oh, it's a long time.
Yeah, so I'd almost died from loss of blood and that. Anyway, I was lying on the ground and I knew something was wrong with my leg because it was numb. I couldn't feel it. And I was saying to myself, don't look at your leg, don't look down. And I looked down, and as soon as I seen it, that's when I felt all the pain come rushing up. I screamed like a bitch. It would
have been a long 40 minutes, I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, it was just, I just remember the pain. Because my first thing I saw was my foot was turned around facing the other way. My shin bone had come up through my knee and was sticking out, like probably about that far. And my whole thigh was just ripped open like a gutted fish. It was open. I could see inside it. There was no bone. All the bone had been smashed into 1,000 pieces, my femur. And I could see all the veins and the muscles were ripped and torn, all hanging out and shaking and twitching, and I could see inside my leg, and I could actually see my legs swelling like that. And so that was pretty traumatic.
You're lucky it didn't get your femur, eh? Like your femoral artery.
Yeah, no, the artery. Yeah, well, that was another miracle of it. It had actually ripped right down and shattered my whole bone, my whole femur. But the artery that runs through the inside of my leg never touched it. And if it had severed that, I would have been dead in 2 minutes.
I think your femoral artery, like if it's big enough, you can bleed out in like
2.5 minutes
seconds or something. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like it's like 4 pumps. That's it. It's all gone.
No, I was very lucky that day. I knew then, even running from my head, I thought I was either going to die that day, but I knew I'd never walk again. I'm never going to walk. It was just mangled. It was a mess.
Does it give you any problems now at all?
Yeah. It's shorter than it is the other one. But I mean, like I was quite lucky as well. The orthopedic surgeon who worked on me when I went to intensive care, of course. My parents got told, look, we're going to have to cut his leg off right at the top. It's too badly damaged and probably can't keep it. But Mr. Atkinson was the orthopedic surgeon. Brilliant doctor. He worked on it for the first operation. He worked on it for 16 hours and saved it. But it was still touch and go after that. He said I could get gangrene at any time, then they'd have to cut it off anyway. Right. Yeah. But
gangrene's just a bacterial infection, is it?
Yeah. And it was very open to infection because he said he had to pick out 1,000 pieces of bone. He counted them, and it also had grass and dirt.
Yeah, and the handlebar had been through it.
Yeah, handlebar ripped right through it, and so bits of jean and that, denim jeans and things like that in it, and so I. And plus also, I forgot to mention that the power transformer that I hit, the bike, I remember getting taken away on the ambulance. I looked over and the bike was still embedded in the transformer, and I knocked out everyone's power in the whole block. And the people the workmen had come there to fix it even before I left in the ambulance. Right. And they were saying they don't know how I didn't get blown up.
Right. Yeah. Could have electrocuted you on the way through.
Yeah. Even the impact.
It's kind of like when you light a cigarette off the mains in prison and you blow the powder everyone's wing.
Yeah, that pisses everyone off. Everyone's TVs go off.
That's right, yeah. Oh shit! I'm glad you came through that okay. It would have been a long time recovery, no doubt.
Yeah, I think I was in hospital for 8 months.
Right.
8 months I was in traction for nearly all of those 8 months, and it was terrible for a teenager. Because you're on your back and my leg was up in the air. You've got a cage over you with pulleys.
Yep.
Pulleys and ropes and weights and pulling your legs stretched. So because I had no femur left, so I had to pull my leg constantly. I had pins through the bottom of my leg with strings attached to it, and hanging down through pulleys at the end of the bed with weights on it, so it kept the stretch
tension
on, the tension on my leg.
Sounds like a torture device.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was all just to keep my leg that far apart so that the bone could hopefully heal back together.
Right.
And the bone actually didn't heal back together. It healed back together in a big knot.
Right.
So which is actually stronger.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. So I was very lucky, but very, very mentally stressful for a teenager to be on my back. And because you couldn't turn over and get comfortable. It drove me crazy, drove me nuts.
Oh, it would. Yeah.
So and not let alone just being in hospital, but not being able to get off the bed or even turn over to get comfortable, not even on your side. All you could do was sit up and like shitting and pissing in a potty and things like that.
And it'd be painful for the first few months.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was in intensive care for a couple of weeks, I think, and then I came out and I was in the orthopedic ward. Which was all still, I was on morphine and everything. It was all still a bit fuzzy then. And I did have like out of it dreams and woke up trying to get out of the thing. And wake up with a lot of pain and things like that. But yeah, I got through it. And then the rest of it was just healing after that, really. But I think the more it was more the mental part of it was the
building resilience, eh?
Yeah. And just handling the actually being in there without going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that must have been a very, very hard situation to deal with. You mentioned did you have consistent friends during this time, or did your friend group evolve or change?
Yeah, I had consistent friends. So once I left school, I mean, like my mate Mike and my other, like I grew up around a lot of guys and went to school with a lot of guys that ended up in the gang. They ended up like doing big lags when they left school. We all sort of got kicked out of school, left school when we were about 14 anyway, about beginning of fourth form, end of third form, and sort of a lot of my mates went to the gang, and I sort of seen them and I thought, well, the gang at that time was really rough, really bad, very unapproachable, and so I seen them doing that, and I thought, well, that doesn't look like fun for me. You know, I didn't want to do that. I sort of hung around with my white mates and surfing and hung out at the beach. It was fun. So
were the gangs at that time were more just Māori?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, there were a few white people in there, but it was predominantly Māori. Yeah. And so. But then I like my white friends, my Pākehā friends, that they were good. We had a lot of fun. And it was all about. I mean, I turned to a lot of drinking and that, especially after my brother died. I just drank, and so Kelvin was a good mate of mine. He was the one who I had the accident outside his house.
Yep.
I spent a lot of time with him and Stephen Burns, and they were sort of quite. They had rich parents and rich families and that, so I sort of hung around with them. It was a lot of fun. Kelvin died. He had a car accident. He got killed.
Right.
and also at around about that time, I started became really good friends with my mate Dion. I actually met Dion when I was about 12. And he was really mischief. Like he was a white guy. You know, he already had tattoos and things. Like he used to tattoo himself and that. But his uncles were all like jailbirds, and you know, they like white people that had tattooed up and done heaps of jail. And
right.
So he sort of, those were his sort of influences, and he sort of had that mentality. But he was funny. He was a hard case. So I met him, but I didn't really start hanging around with him until Kelvin died when I was after the hospital. And then, sort of my friend group sort of changed then after Kelvin died, and then I went myself and Dion and Carl Roberts and that. So we hung around a lot together, and we got into a lot of mischief. Right. Me and Dion decided we didn't want to be home anymore, and we decided should we go and be street kids. Yeah. So we did, right. and like we both had good homes, good families.
How old were you at that point?
Oh, we were 15. I think I'd just come out of hospital.
Right.
Hospital. Oh, might have been before. No, it was after hospital.
Did you have another accident or something after
I did.
That? Yeah.
I did. So when I got out of hospital, I was on this horrendous big cast. There's 2 big casts with brackets on the knee and things like that. I had to learn how to walk again. I was on a Zimmer frame and things like that for a while. So I got out when I finally got my cast off, which would have been a few months later after getting out of hospital. I got drunk again, jumped on my mate's bike and went to go and get a pie at 6 o'clock in the morning and came off the bike again. and broke the same femur, but not where it had healed. It broke just underneath it between the knee and that
and the other break. Right.
Yeah, and the other break, and it got 3 breaks in the femur there. So I had to go into. They didn't even know if it would actually heal, if calcium would go there, but it did. So I was back in traction again for about 4.5 months. Yeah, right. It wasn't even a year later. So So I did that and got out again. And
was the lesson learned that time?
No. It was just a bad mixture of alcohol and just trying to have fun. And we loved motorbikes. Dion and Carl, we all had motorbikes, and we were cruising around on motorbikes, and we'd cruise around pissed, and it was just stupid stuff, and we were mischief. So we had a couple more little accidents there, but those were the 2 big ones. But I learned from those accidents though. I learned how to I learned how to ride better after that.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I'd had motorbikes like that. That one we've got. There's one here in the garage. That was my dream to have one of those when I was a kid.
Yeah, same.
And I used to. There was in Christchurch. There was a place called QE2 Fun Park.
Yeah. Yes.
And it was over at the QE2 pools right around there, and they had a track for like electric or like petrol cars, but they were like real slow, so they'd go at walking or jogging speed like max, and it had like stop signs and things that little buildings that you could drive around and pretend that you're on the streets. But then they had a motorbike track too, which had these blue Yamaha, I think they are Yamaha little tiny wee 4-stroke bikes, and I just honestly, you had to be 12. Right. To use those, and up until I was 12, I was just like, I just want to go on those so bad. Anyway, they were by the time I was 12, and I managed to get there and go on one of them, they were about to close the motorbike side of things. It was that they weren't doing it anymore, and I went in there and they said, "Oh no, we've closed the track today. No one's using it." And I was 12, and I'd never got to go to the fun park, and I was like, I couldn't believe I didn't get to go. But they were like, "Oh, we'll let you go on it, but you'll be on the track with the cars." And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, yes. And so I got to do that, and no one ever got to ride the motorbikes on a car track, because the motorbikes were about 5 times faster than all the cars. And mate, I was hustling around these city streets, on this motorbike, and everyone else was driving these cars, and they couldn't believe it. But I always remember that. If I had, I got my first motorbike, was a road bike when I must have been 18, 19, maybe 20. But if I'd had them as a teenager, I think I would have seriously hurt myself. Yeah.
No, well, that would have been a lot of fun for a kid too. But I remember that track. I think it had closed down though by the time I moved to Christchurch. But yeah. No, I think my father, we used to go on Sunday drives and that with my father, and when I was a kid, and we came across a motocross race, and my father stopped, and we watched it, and I fell in love with bikes then. I fell in love with them. So I used to go to the Honda shop and that, and when I was a kid, and look at all, and there was one just like that, but the little Hondas, 100s or whatever they. And I used to always hound my parents, can I have a motorbike? Can I have one of those? Because I would have loved that. That was, I just fell in love with motorbikes, but they couldn't afford to. No.
I was the same. Dad had a XR250, like a 1979 maybe, or early 80s, XR250.
Early A model ones, yeah.
Yeah, it had a round headlight at the front, I'm pretty sure.
And a steel tank?
No, it had a plastic. He might have put a different tank on it, but it had a plastic kind of like ambery yellow see-through kind of tank, I think. But he used to do wheelies down the drive. Well, not wheelies, but he used to. I felt like he was getting the front wheel off the ground down the driveway, but he probably wasn't. It was probably just high on the suspension. Yeah. And I just used to be like, "Fuck, that's so cool." You know?
Well, motorbikes have always been a big part of my life. My brother had I can't remember what it was. But it was a 400 trail bike.
Yep.
But made for the road, did road tires on it. Yeah. And so I'd come home from school and he'd look over and he'd go, "Want to go for a ride?" I'd go, yeah. And I'd get all excited. And he chucked me on the back and he was really good. He could pull a wheel stand. He'd pull a wheel stand with me on the back of it from one side of Napier to the other. He'd slow down for the lights. He'd turn corners.
Staying on the back wheel.
Still on the back wheel. He was a bit of an evil Knievel.
Yeah.
And I used to, but it was just the most awesome thing I could ever think of in the world. So I loved it, and he knew that, so that's why he sort of did that for me. I used to look around when I was on the back, like holding on to him, looking around for mates and someone that I knew to wave to, but never happened like that. But no, it was good. Yeah, I love motorbikes, but
Yep. I know. I definitely would have been the same if I had an older brother that was into them. I would have been just the same. Yep. So you mentioned earlier to me as well that there was one turning point in your early life was when you were stepped out at the pub. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think I would have been about 17, like young, just turned 17 maybe, and I had just got in with my girlfriend, Susan, and so we were at the pub, we were young, but in those days there was no real strong laws against underage drinking, so it was pretty laid back. So we were in the West Shore pub, and a guy that I knew, he sort of knew my sisters and my brother and things like that, but he was way old. He's probably about 26, something like that. He just, I was playing pool, and he just walked up in front of the whole pub and stepped me out, accused me of stealing his brother's dope plants. Well, it wasn't me. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know what he was talking about, but so he was stepping me out, and I was a bit scared at the time. I was only young, and this guy was a lot bigger and badder than me. And he was stepping me out, and I was going, "No, I'm not going out." So I was dropping my nuts, to be honest. And my girlfriend at the time, she was going, "Go out with him, Karen. Yeah, go out with him. I've seen you fight. You'll beat him." And I was going, "Shut the fuck up." And so that was like, make a long story short, I ended up dropping my nuts. I didn't go outside with him. I woke up the next morning. I got really drunk that night. Woke up the next morning and I just felt terrible. I had a really bad feeling, and I made a vow to myself, I'll never do that again. I felt shame. It was just complete shame, and because it was happening in front of the whole pub, people I knew. And I said, I made a vow to myself for that moment. I'll never ever back down to anybody again, even if it kills me. I'll never do that again. And I kept to it. And so that changed. That was another turning point in my life. That changed everything.
Yeah.
So because I started fighting, I started fighting back. Even
after that.
Yeah, after that. Like if and a lot of the people that I got stepped out by was in pubs, and it was by bigger guys and older guys and things like that. But I just went, all right, then kind of that. And then I actually, to my surprise, I was winning most of them, you know. And I thought, shit, I'm better than I actually thought I was. So I sort of started getting a bit of a reputation.
Right.
Around my mates and things like that. I was quite a good fighter at that time when I was young.
Right. Yeah, I can see how that would be a turning point. You kind of see you fall into a space where you're like, actually, I'm more capable than I thought here.
Yeah. Well, I started not being scared of people, and I sort of started building my confidence up. Yeah, because I was quite, like I said, I was quite shy as a child, and I sort of got picked on too at school a little bit, you know. And which sort of turned me into a bully sometimes in school as well to other kids. But yeah, no. When I started realising that I was winning a lot of fights, well, then I got my confidence up, and then I started fighting a lot.
Yeah. I was even when I was bouncing, I didn't have a lot of confidence. I remember that, and it was the army that helped with that. You know, I had to be a bit more confident, but I still now even have I've way more confidence now than I would have had back when I was younger. If I went back into those jobs now, it'd be very different. You know? And I think that sometimes you need experiences like that to show you that you can be assertive, and I think
Well, even a bit of to not have an ego as well.
Yep.
With it, because once you get it and you get past that,
Yep.
then it's not you don't really have to prove yourself to
Yep.
people as well.
And you'd know that with karate too, or martial arts, and that like the more capable you are, the less you feel you need to prove yourself. And
Well, I even feel like that now. Anyway, I think just being older and wiser, and like I'd laugh, more make a joke of the other person now. Or it's better. It's way better to walk away from a fight than have it.
100%.
And plus, you don't know what trouble it's going to end up in. You're going to get locked up. You're going to.
Oh, you could kill them. Just one punch. I talked to my son about it. He has fights with his mates at school. They're not necessarily physical, but they could go that way. And it's them often. They're giving him shit for something, and he's very much about playing by the rules. He's good at what he does. If they're playing basketball or whatever, he's good at it. But they call fouls and things when it's not a foul, and he's like, he just wants a ref there, but he doesn't have one. And so I say to them, look, these kids are jealous because they are often jealous of him and his ability. And I say, they don't play basketball as much as you do. They don't practice like you do. And of course they're going to have a problem with it. But the best thing you can do is just understand that they don't feel good enough. That's the reason they're saying that.
Take that as a compliment.
Yeah, it is a compliment. That's right. They're not happy with who they are, or they're not happy with how things are going for them. So the way that they can do it is by devaluing you as much as they can. Yeah. And I said, if you're able to walk away from that, it actually annoys them more. Because they don't get the reaction out of you that they want. But ultimately, you're probably not going to be friends with those people for long anyway.
Well, so don't need them, eh?
You don't need people like that. No. So what was it that initially, like moving on further into your life, or it probably wouldn't have been that much further along? Well, what was it that drew you into the gang lifestyle, or how did you become involved initially?
So like I said, how me and my mate Dion and that, we used to ride around on bikes and drive old Falcons, and so we used to get pulled up a lot before we were even old enough to have a license. So I got pulled over a few times and we got disqualified without even having to go to court.
Right. Oh, the police just did it on the side of the road.
Yeah. Right. Because I think it must have been the law back in those days. Being youth, being underage, and that they could disqualify you. So I got disqualified a couple of times, I think, and and then when I actually came of age, I got pulled up for a drunken driving charge, and I got disqualified from that. I got through that, did PD and periodic detention and that, and then I got pulled over again. And this time, it actually I was quite hard done by, because I was disqualified at the time, still from that time, and my sister we were at my mum's house, and my sister wanted to get out. My mum's car was behind there. They said, "Can you move the car?" I pulled out of the driveway and pulled it up to the side of the road so she could get out, and a couple of cops went past and saw me pulling the car out.
Did they recognise you?
Yeah, they recognised me. So they pulled over and said, "Kieran, you're disqualified." And I said, "No, I'm just moving the car so my sister could get out." And my sister was still...
right.
And they said, "It doesn't matter. We don't care. The keys are in the ignition, and you're on the public road. So you'll be having you driving while disqualified." So that was probably would have been maybe my third time ever been disqualified.
Right.
I wasn't drunken driving, nothing like that. I went to court for it. I just had my first son too. And he was a baby, and I went to court not thinking much of it, and I got 15 months jail. And I was like, whoa, wow, that was a shock. So I wasn't expecting that. I went to jail. I got put in, the Mangaro had just been built then in Hawke's Bay.
Right.
I got put into, I got chucked, my first day in jail, I got chucked into a wing with full of gang members. And it was high security, it was a high medium, and there was no room somewhere else, the screws said, but I got chucked into this, and it was all of this one gang and just me. And I got chucked in there, first day in jail, got taken to my cell, got left there, and then everything just went dark. And all these big, bad looking gang members walked in, all foul masked and that, and sort of, they couldn't even all fit in my cell. They all just crowded my cell and said, "Who are you?" And I told them who I was, and they said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "No, Napier." And they said, "Who are you with?" And this is how green I was. At the time I go, "Oh no, I just came in by myself." And they go, No, who are you with?" And I go, "No, just me and the screw came in." And they went, "Well, bro, what gang are you with?" And I, "Oh no, shut on." And I answered this completely wrong. I said, "Oh no, I'm not with any gang." But what I should have explained was, I knew a lot of the gang. I loved where the gang came from, and a lot of my mates were in the gang.
Yep.
But I didn't. I just said, no, I'm not with any gang. And they said, well, if you're not one of us, when you come in here, you get smashed over.
Right.
I went, oh, awesome. And that was just about to happen. It was just about to happen. I was just about to get a hot in, and then the grill opened up. So they stopped, and a guy walked past, another gang member walked past, and as he walked past my cell door, and he goes, oh, Kev, hey, bro, what are you up to? And I go, and he looked around, and he goes, oh, no, this fellow's all right. He's from where I'm from. And so that saved my ass that day, that moment. So, but I was in there for a couple of months in that wing, and it was terrible time. I got beaten up, smashed over, picked on.
Yeah.
And
did they give you the opportunity to sign on with them at that point at all?
Oh, yeah, that's where it was going to. That was where it was going to. But like I just, I mean, well, not at that stage. Not at that stage. I don't think I was worthy at that stage.
Oh, they saw it that way?
I'm not sure. Well, I'm just, that's what I thought. I probably wasn't worthy at that stage. I was green. Green, stupid. I was just being used as I was just an idiot that they could pick on. Yeah, pretty much. So even going out playing touch, like these were big, muscly gang members, and as we were playing touch, I think I'm going to get touched, and I just bam and get smashed into the side of the wall, concrete wall, and slid across the asphalt. And I remember going back to my cell one day after a game of touch, and I was just covered in grazes. My whole body was sore, and I just went and closed the door, and I remember I was trying not to cry. I just wanted to cry, and it was a pretty hard time, but that was my first leg. And then I went, I thought, all my blessings came at once. The stewards came and said, I'm being moved up to the Napier Hill.
Right.
And Napier Hill was the oldest prison in the country at the time, and it only held like 65 inmates. And so I got shipped to Napier Hill, and it was awesome from where I came from to there. And I knew a lot of people in there, and it was just a cozy little prison, and it was really good. So I loved it there.
Bit of a holiday.
Yeah. From where I came from, that was the Hilton, you know. And so I was there 3 days, and then 10 people had to be shipped out because the jail, they needed to make room, and I was one of them, one of the names picked out. So, and they shipped me off I went to Rangipo Central, and that was a full on prison. It was for a young fellow like me, just come from a shit place, then to a good place, and then got to a worse place.
Even worse than the first one.
Worse than the first one, but I wasn't so enclosed. The first one, there was probably like 10 of us, and I was all the rest were the same gang.
Yep.
But these guys were all doing life 10 years, 14 years. They weren't no small time.
No, by the time you got to that third place, did you have your wits about you a little bit more?
No. I mean, I was still green. I was still like, didn't want to be there. I was still sort of getting used to it. And plus, I'd been, I was hating where I was for the first 2 months, but then I loved where I was the next time, but still didn't want to be there. And then we got shipped to this place. This place was worse than the first place. Like, there was 85 cells in each wing. There was 2 wings, and 85 cells, and most of them were just about all double cells. So, I mean, do the math. Like one wing was Mongrel Mob wing, and the other wing was Black Power. So and all these guys this was central North Island. So these guys come from like Perry, Albany, all over. It's coming off their big legs and doing their last couple of years at this place. So it wasn't even though it was a minimum security, low medium, high medium. So it was. It wasn't no easy place to be at, and you just felt the tension when you come because. The Black Power ran one wing, and the Mongrel Mob ran the other wing. So if you were in one wing, you weren't allowed to go to it was all segregated.
They kept them completely separate.
Yeah, completely separate. Well, the inmates made it that way. Right. Like if you were from this wing and you walked into that wing,
could you go into the other wing?
No. You get attacked. You get attacked, stabbed.
But I mean, would the screws let you go to the other wing?
No, well, the screws had no say in it. It wasn't up to the screws.
So did you share a yard?
It was one big yard. Yeah, it was huge. Probably about two football fields.
And was it unlocked all day?
Yeah, unlocked all day. Yeah, both wings unlocked all day. You can move about, but it was a working unit as well. So it was winter. It was bitterly cold. This is in
Yep.
Rangipo, which is
Oh, right.
Taupo, so it's,
Central Plateau, is it around there?
yeah, by
Right.
the desert road, sort of, on the desert road.
Yeah, I lived in Waiuru for 3 months. It
right,
was
yeah.
cold.
Yeah, freezing cold, but
Yeah,
not
yeah.
much oxygen there either.
No,
right?
no.
So I mean, and the windows, like slate windows, all them, they didn't have any. It was just bars, so it was just.
Oh,
it was
really?
Just blizzardly,
Open windows.
Yeah, blizzardly cold, and yeah, they had the old grey blankets and that, and everything, but yeah, it was really cold and snowing. So you had to go to work in the snow and low pruning and doing things like that. I was lucky because of my injury. I ended up getting off that, and got a job in the yard.
Right.
And if you didn't work, you were locked up till lunchtime anyway. So, but this was a very, very violent jail. I seen a lot of violence in that jail. I got beaten up for it was just nothing. I mean, it was I didn't actually do anything wrong, and I just got beaten up because I got picked on and by a gang member and got my arm broken and things like that. So I didn't say anything. I just didn't turn up to dinner one night. I saw guys get stabbed. I saw a guy get stabbed through the throat, through one side with a chisel, and came right out the other side. He nearly died. I seen another guy get stabbed like probably 20 times. I saw another guy, this big Islander guy, get stabbed like 200 times with sharpened up toothbrushes.
Did he survive?
Yeah, he survived. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, but he had a lot of holes in him.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Wow. Like you just think when you hear someone say that, oh, he was stabbed in the hundreds of times, you wouldn't ever think someone would live through that. Or survive.
Well, it was sharpened up toothbrushes, so sharpened to a point.
Yep.
He got stabbed, probably about 5 guys stabbing him up.
Right.
And he lived. Lucky they were just shallow stabs.
And the intention was to kill him, obviously.
Well, just teach him a lesson, I suppose.
I always remember going from a medium security unit to a minimum security and getting metal cutlery.
Yeah.
And thinking, you give this to everyone? Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Or even the gym equipment, full like lat pull down bars.
Yeah.
Or like, the
big,
bars
heavy
for
steel
cables
weights
and things. Big heavy steel weights, everything. And I'm
dumbbells.
thinking, you sure? It's like a pull cue.
Yeah, I saw. I had a mate that attacked another guy in the carbine yard in Napier Hill, from behind with a dumbbell, and turned him into a vegetable.
Yeah. Well, didn't who was it? There's a movie that someone was killed with gym equipment. There's a movie made about them.
Was it an Australian movie? Was that Carl?
Maybe
Carl Williams.
I don't know.
He got killed with gym equipment.
Yeah, it was in the movie he gets beaten. He gets beaten. His head caved in with a dumbbell. I'm pretty sure. And I think the screws were in on it. They knew that guy. That was the intention behind it anyway. Yeah. But I think obviously, when I was in the medium security unit, it was broomsticks and water bottles was what they trained with. That's all they have.
And then a guy sitting on your shoulders while you're doing squats.
Or they're pulling your heels back for hamstring kills and things. Yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah. Some of those exercises were getting a bit gay. Don't know if I want that, guys. On my back of my neck.
Yeah, that's right.
But
you do it, bro. That's not going to be the worst thing that'll be fucking happening.
But I mean, this is still my first leg, and it was a very intense jail, very intense prison. I got beaten up by one of the gang members, for not sharing a joint that I had, I think, and so got my arm broken. I didn't say anything, but I didn't turn up to dinner. So the
did you know it was broken?
No, I was just sore. I was sore all over. My face was out here, because everyone had steel caps. It was a working unit, so I got my face kicked in by steel caps and things like that. So I was in a bit of a mess, but I didn't feel like going to dinner.
No, fair enough.
But so Screws came to see why, because they do a muster check where I was, and then when they see me, they went, oh, and I said, no. They went, who was it? They were trying to get me to say who it was. I wouldn't say anything. So they chucked me in the pound. They threw me in the pound
for not saying.
Yeah, for both things, for not saying and for my own protection. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to go on SEGs or sign on or anything like that. I wouldn't do that. So they put me on protective segregation for my own good, but anyway, but that ended up working out good for me, because I was in the pound for a week, which was shit, and I was in the pound for a week, and then the unit manager came in, had a look at me and said send them back to Napier. So I ended up going back to Napier Hall, so it all worked out right.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but by then I ended up, went back to Mangaroa prison and was back with the gang again. And make a long story short, by the time I got out of prison, I was in the gang.
You're in that gang, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you feel at that point that it was had it become a lifestyle for you at that point, or did you feel like it was a good decision?
No, I didn't. I didn't really want to, but I sort of had no choice,
right.
to be honest. And
yep.
Well, I sort of did, but at the time I was too scared to say no. At the time, I mean, I was still only young, but I ended up coming out. But when I did make the decision, I did know then, or you make this decision, that's it.
It's long term.
You're in there for good. You're stuck there, so you don't just get out of jail and then do the runner. But
and when you were in jail, did you maintain connections with family?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I still was part of my family, and that I had another child by then as well, and my children grew up, but I always kept the gang away from my family,
because it does get, for a lot of families, it gets heavily integrated.
So where I came from, most of that gang was born into the gang anyway.
Right.
You're either born into it or you lived it.
Yep.
So it was actually a lifestyle. It wasn't. A lot of people didn't really have a choice. They were born into it.
It's their family values.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I was the only person in my family, even not my immediate family, my cousins and that.
Yep.
I was the only one that was ever joined the gang. So
right.
But so that happened, and I was in a gang. But my mates always used to try and get me to join the gang anyway. The mates that I used to go to school with, I was really good. Like I had a good mate who I went to school with, and he ended up being sergeant of arms of this gang, and he'd pull over on his Harley and say that, we want you to jump on with us, because at that stage, once I came out of jail, I believe every man should do a little bit of jail. I've always thought, because it wakes you up. It does.
I know, yeah.
It wakes you up to life. Right?
It shows you what you've got to lose.
That's right.
And how bad it can get.
I reckon just even a few months, just go in there for a few months, and you either never ever go to jail again, or you do.
I almost agree. I agree with you, because I used to say that about the military. I think for most men, it would be good for them to do 3 months, a year, even a year in the military would be great for even everyone. But if everyone did a bit of jail, it would certainly change a lot of people.
Definitely change a lot of people, and definitely wake a lot of people up.
Oh yeah,
you have to adjust overnight.
And you start to appreciate the simple things.
Yes, that's right. And the simple things are what you miss.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And after I got out of hospital, I went in up the second time. Me and my mate Dion went and jumped on the scheme because we were bored, had nothing to do.
Yep.
It was a YMCA scheme, and so at the end of that, Dion got into too much mischief. He got sent to CT, corrective training at the time back then, and so I was sort of all alone. And we finished doing the course, and the guys that were running the course said, you should jump on this thing. There was a pilot course coming up, and it was run by the Army, right. And it was called the Napier Cadet Academy.
Oh, yeah.
So I went, I'll give it a go. I had nothing else to do. So I went and gave it a go, and like after my accident, I'd never ran. I still had a bad limp and things. So, and this was out in Estelle at a place called Beck House. So I got taken out there, and you lived there. You lived in. It was like going to the Army. It was the cadet course.
Yep.
So, and it was for sort of youth that were sort of on their way to being bad, or trying to save them and things like that. And it was all about discipline and all that. So I didn't know what I'd got myself into. Right. We got there and we were in dormitories and that, and went to bed, and they had dinner and went to bed, and we was like, I think there was 4 of us in a room in a dormitory, and so about 4:30 in the morning, the fire alarm goes off, and we're getting up, and I'm wondering what's going on. We go, we all have to line up outside. So we all line up outside, and we were actually standing in a group, and out of the dark, you just hear this voice screaming, "Get the fuck out of this, fucking that, you fucking lazy cunts." And it was really, and we were like, what the fuck's going on here? And the Sergeant Smith was his name, and he was a hard man. And he came just yelling and screaming at us, and we were all just in line, lined up in our squad. and then and we're off for a run. We're for a 7K run. The first one was. I hadn't run, but being yelled and screamed at, I ran. It was a slow cadence anyway.
How was your leg at that point?
Well, it wasn't good, but I didn't even think I could run. I never tried to run because I knew I had that injury. But being yelled and screamed at, I ran just with everybody else. And actually, at the end of it was a 6-week course, the first pilot course, and it was all fitness. It was all fitness. We had to run everywhere. We had competence courses in the afternoon, or sport like touch rugby or basketball. Then there was education, and then there was marching. You've been taught to march on the parade ground and things like that. So, and I just did everything. I didn't even think about it, but I didn't even. And the runs were quite slow at first in cadence.
They're always generally like a manageable pace for a long period.
And then until we had to wear packs with rocks in them and things like that, and do stretcher carries and competence courses and things like that. That was pretty. And then it got hard, but
you would have come out pretty fit.
Very, very fit, very fit. And actually, on our march out day, at the end of the 6 weeks, we had a parade and we were all in tuxedos and things like that, and we had a formal dinner and speeches and things like that, and I got asked to do a speech, so I did a speech, and as I was walking up to do the speech, Sergeant Smith got up and said, this guy has had a really bad accident with his leg and that, because he mentioned in his speech how many kilometres we had run in that whole 6 weeks, and he said this guy ran the whole.
Wow.
So many
acknowledged you for that.
And I didn't really think much of it. I just knew I had to be yelled and screamed.
Just doing what everyone's doing.
I was just doing what everyone was doing. Exactly. That's right. So I actually got promoted after that, and I had a chance to stay. So I ended up staying on there. I stayed there for 3 years. Cool. 3 years. I stayed there and ended up becoming staff, and then I was teaching. I was teaching the.
That would have been good.
Yeah, I ended up making it to a regimental. No, this is cadets. Cadet ranks. I'm a regimental sergeant major, and so I got to the highest rank you could get to, and I was teaching teaching marching and parade grounds and taking courses and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really missed the army. It's I remember it as being good times, but it was also definitely hard. It's hard fucking work and a lot of being cold and miserable. Yeah.
Oh, it's good. We had to go do survival courses in the bush and things like that for a week and go have a ration pack. We were eating goats and all sorts of bloody things. Yeah. It was good. It was good to go through that. I'm glad.
Very character building.
Oh, definitely. It taught me some discipline and structure and routine and that as well. So, yeah.
You can see the value in it, in that, yeah.
I wish I had I was actually going to join the army afterwards, but I got into trouble. That's when I got into trouble. Ended up with PD, was driving motor qualified, and that. Ended up PD, went to jail. And then, so that was my military days over.
Yeah.
And then, so it was that.
Can you describe the moment, or was there an event or anything like that made you realise with the whole gang lifestyle that you were in pretty deep, or that you got in pretty deep?
Yeah, well, I knew I was in pretty deep as soon as I said yes. as soon as I joined. Yeah. And so I knew my life was going to be very much different then. And I knew I remember saying to myself, because you said yes, because you joined, that's you now. You better stick at it and keep loyal. So I did, and when you say getting in pretty deep, well, you soon realise that when you go into war and you're actually being shot at and you're shooting back people and things like that. So it's pretty intense time. So I forgot to mention as well, my mate Dion, who I grew up with, we became really good mates. We became brothers. He was like the brother that I had. Well, we became brothers. Very, very close. We did everything together. He ended up joining the gang as well. Right. So we were in the gang together as well. And I remember there was this time when we were at war and everyone was on edge and very intense time. And
so what does at war mean from a gang
we were
sense?
warring with another gang.
Right. So is it like a state that's declared? So basically...
a situation had happened.
Oh, I see.
Like when a situation happens, then everyone comes and gets...
I remember being in prison that they said, something could happen either in prison or outside of prison that then meant there was like attack on site orders issued and all that kind of thing. So suddenly it's like, I don't want to do this, bro, but I'm sorry, but I have to.
It just goes without saying. And that's the thing with the gangs. You got to back it up.
and you're answerable to the higher calling, or the bigger structure.
To your brothers,
there.
And so there was this time I remember where everything was very intense, and everyone was on on their toes, and like wars happen because a situation happens where maybe one side had been attacked or got shot or something has happened. So or the rest of the chapter all backs it up, and it becomes tit for tat.
Yep.
Then next minute bullets start flying, and so there was a time like that. We're at the pad, and I never really thought much of being scared or anything until you actually time to be scared.
Yep.
So the build up was probably just as bad as anything. So me and my mate Dion, well, he was a character anyway. He was a hard case guy. Like we were cracking jokes, we were laughing and cracking jokes, and everyone else was like really intense. And but so we didn't really take it too seriously. We knew how serious it was, but we just didn't act serious. We knew until it actually we were getting shot at. Then time to be serious. Right. But yeah. So those times like that, you realise how deep you are, But still, I knew when I made the decision to join the gang that I had to take the bad with the good. But I wanted to keep my kids out of it and my family out of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, don't never take it home. And I didn't.
So throughout your time in the gang, what were some of the biggest challenges or conflicts that you faced internally?
There's a lot of time I didn't feel like I belonged in the gang.
Right.
I didn't feel I was that person. I mean, I couldn't really bully people if they had done nothing wrong. I got into a bit of, so almost got into a few fights sometimes with some of the other gang members because they'd say, "Oh, you have to do this. You have to be like this. You have to be like that." And I go, "No, I don't.
Yeah.
I just want to be me. So I can only be me. If I'm not me, I'm not happy. I don't want to be you, because then I'm not me. And so why should I have to try and pretend to be somebody else? And I'm not. So there was a lot of thing that I'd conflicted. That was conflicted.
Yep.
Plus, I didn't realise that at the time as well. A lot of my thinking that I realised things is later on in life that I think I had anxiety. I used to get anxiety at the time. I didn't know what anxiety was.
Yeah.
And sometimes I didn't want to be around all these guys, and some. I mean, one on one, I had a few real good close mates. Few close brothers that I spent a lot of time with in there that we knew each other really well, and I could just be myself with them.
Yep.
But sometimes we were in big groups. It was quite it was quite overwhelming.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I bet it would be. Yeah.
Especially this gang. It was.
And the numbers are pretty high too. Like in terms of there's thousands of them, Like thousands of people in those gangs.
Thousands of them. Yeah, and a lot of them are the baddest people I've ever met. They're the craziest. Psycho, staunchest, baddest guys,
I remember thinking, like, at times when I was up to no good, just being a little bit oblivious to the types of people that are out there. Like, being like, oh, if they come around, if someone comes around and does that, I don't think they'd do that, or I don't think they'd do that. And my mates would be like, bro, there's guys out there they wouldn't care if there was police in your driveway. No. They're still going to kick your door in.
We used to be like that as well, It wouldn't stop us. Wouldn't stop people. I'll tell you one thing about the gang that I was with was quite staunch, bad, very angry, very staunch people. And if you didn't measure up to anything, or you sort of showed weakness, you just get picked on. You get picked on by whether you're a patch member or not. You get that sort of attitude. But so you had to sort of not show any weakness, pretty much there. And it was very intimidating gang. Even though these were your brothers, still very intimidating. And a lot of drinking. There was a lot of drinking and parties and a lot of that. And there's a lot of times they got out of hand, and people got beaten up just for the hell of it.
Yeah, and I guess when you throw substances in there, you start, people's personalities change. Yeah. And someone who might be your brother most of the time suddenly has a bone to pick with you over something that.
Well, that's what I was going to say earlier as well. Sorry, I went off track. What I noticed early in the gang when I was prospecting was my other mates, some of my mates that were prospecting as well. Once they got their patch, they changed. Like
Right.
I saw people change. And they put the patch on, and next minute their walk changed. They started, they were like, fuck, did you grow muscles overnight, bro?
Yeah.
And then their attitude would change, and then they were suddenly better than you. And it was like, I thought that was embarrassing. I'll never be like that. And I wasn't, I never was. So even when I became president, I used to say, when I patch a member up, I'd say, the man makes the patch doesn't make the man.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah. Yep.
I thought it was embarrassing. Don't embarrass yourself, because I saw it so many times. A jacket doesn't change somebody.
Nah, but it's, I guess for them it's a sense of belonging, but also they would have seen people wearing it. It's like when in the army when you get your uniform.
Yeah.
When we got out of basic training, 4 or 5 of us went to the mall and just wore our uniform. Honestly, because it was just, you couldn't wait to show it off. Like you couldn't wait to be like, I can wear this in public. This is actually what I do.
Yeah.
And you were proud of it. You're proud because you've just been through 3 months of basic training plus 6 weeks for me of core training, which was combat training. It was tough. You get beasted. It was physical. It was very physical and very definitely. Mentally and emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask, were there times where you were watching young fellas where you found it hard? Did you feel? I guess, was there, because there'd be times where there'd be people that you would have empathy for that you're like, fuck, I don't want to see this guy get a hiding. He's going to get a hiding.
Yeah. You know? Oh, every time.
Yeah.
Every single time. It was like, that would have, shit. Yeah. I seen mates get knocked out in some big hits.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like in the military again is my only real experience with that kind of thing. But there was back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, like the way that things were dealt with back in there was quite different too.
Really different. Wasn't easy back then.
Nah, I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah. So betrayal can be a powerful turning point. Could you discuss a time where you may have felt betrayed, and how that would have impacted your view on loyalty?
About the time that I left, I knew I wanted to leave. There was a couple of reasons. I'd become president. I was president probably about 4 or 5 years of a chapter, and I started a chapter up down here, down in South Island as well, and. So I ran my chapter a lot more like a family. Like I loved my boys and tried to teach them the right way and tried to do things better, because I didn't want to be president when I got made president. I didn't want the responsibility of it. Right. But then I got told, you do things your own way. It's no one can tell you what to do. It's your way, and you do it the way you want. Pick your own members and that. That didn't actually happen. I got sent a lot of members from up north that I didn't really want. But so that was all right. So, but I tried to do the right thing. I tried to teach them. I had a lot of rules. I wouldn't let them go out bullying people, standing over people, home invading. Nothing. They weren't allowed to do anything like that.
Yeah.
I tried to get them into business. I tried to get them into training, like to EIT, and got them jobs. But then they didn't really want to do it that way. They wanted to be bullies, and
they were there to cause trouble.
Yeah, they were all young. They were all in their 20s, young 20s, and that. So they
trying to live the dream.
Yeah. They just wanted to be gangsters. So. But I was trying to teach them a different way. When you all want bikes, you all want nice cars, and that. What about when you get them? How are you going to keep them? Because the cops just take them off you. Yeah,
that's right.
They're living out of your means or proceeds of crime or whatever.
Yeah, it's so easier. It's so much easier now, for the police to take stuff off them too.
Yeah, they don't need a reason.
And they can, even the proceeds of crime stuff's changed to the point where I think they can, even if you register it under someone else's name, they can still take it.
I went through a bit of that. But so I tried to teach them that what your goal should be is every one of you should end up owning your own business. Right? And we'll all get there together, right? I says, if I'm going to be a millionaire, I'll bring you all up, we'll all be millionaires, you know? But it was harder than it sounded. It was really hard to keep. They'd get sacked on purpose because they don't really want their job, or
you're really trying to change the culture, eh?
And I wanted to change the way people looked at us, because everywhere I went, I got sick and tired of getting blamed for things or having that reputation that you didn't earn. Like I remember, there was a time where a mate rang me up. We had just moved out to a place in by Leaffield, Leaston.
Oh, yep.
And And there was a burglary probably about 8 kilometres away, but in the country. And we had just not long moved there to a mate's place. And I got a phone call from a guy that I knew. And he says, "Oh, my mate, bro, I'm just ringing you to ask you. My mate in the area got ripped off, got burgled, and some bikes got taken and things like that." He goes, "Do you know anything about that?" And I said, "No, bro." I said, "We don't do burglaries, things like that, especially in our own neighbourhood. We don't do that sort of stuff." And he goes, "No, I didn't think you did, but it's just that when the cops went and investigated the burglary, they said, no, we know who did it." And then he said, "But we're not going to do anything about it yet because we're waiting for bigger things." And that alerted me to oh no, yeah, so they're watching us. So I sort of, at that time, I was doing really well, and I was doing well with the gang and my boy. We were going a long way, and not long after that, I got us a pad and things like that. But as time went on, I sort of had, after a few years of it, I'd had enough. I'd had enough, and I thought, well, you know, I turned 50, and I thought, shit, what have I done with my life? All I'm doing is doing for the gang. I've given so much. And I just had enough, and I thought, I actually don't want to do this anymore, you know. And so I had that in the back of my mind. I was still doing what I had to do, and it was tending to be very stressful, trying to look after pretty much the naughtiest boys in the country, really, and trying to keep them on track, because whatever they did, it came back on me, and I used to tell them that, hey, because, you know, at the police station, there's all your pictures and all that, and at the top of that pyramid is me.
That's right. And they're going, how can we link it to Kev, and how do we make sure that we know that Kev told him to do this?
Exactly.
Or like that.
So everything that each one of those individuals were doing, they were going right. And then I'll say, you know, one day it's going to go to court, and I'm going to say, all these things that these guys are doing is told by this guy, and it wasn't like that at all.
No.
These fellas were doing a lot of stuff behind my back too, and so I was sort of over that. I was going, oh man, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and give me a life for what these fellas are doing, you know, even though they weren't killing anybody. But
the police want to dismantle the whole thing, and the best way to do that is to take out the guys at the top, and if
cut the head off the snake.
If they can,
in other words,
if they can pressure the younger fellas into, you know, effectively giving up people who are more senior in the club, that works out best for the police. Yeah,
but it wouldn't have stopped anything another They can get rid of me, and another
someone else would just pop in.
Someone worse. And actually, I used to say, if the cops knew what I was trying to do, they'd probably shake my hand. You know, if they
keep you there.
If they knew I was trying to do good things. But you know, it wasn't like that. You become their enemy, and you just never get left alone. They're trying to destroy you as much as other people are trying to destroy you. And that. So that was one of the reasons. It was coming up to that. I'd sort of had enough. I thought, what have I done with my life? You know, I want to sort of do family and that now. So that was one of the reasons. Another reason was one of the guys. He made himself a president because he was really he got really jealous and bitter about me being made a president. He didn't like it, so he wanted to be made a president. So he made himself a president. Right. Quite a staunch fella. He was quite tough. Quite very much a very violent warmonger type person. Not someone to be messed with. No. Very serious. And so he wanted me to help him start up this chapter that he wanted to do, but it was all, in hindsight, it was all a little bit of a setup. I had a lot of vehicles, and I had a lot of toys and cars, bikes. He was in jail. I sort of helped him out. When he got out of jail, I helped him out. At jail, I gave him a bike, gave him a Harley, and gave him a couple of cars, and gave him some money and things like that. Still, he had something else in his hair. I could tell. So he came out to take over the chapter, and I wanted to stand down because
the chapter you were running at that point.
I was running, and I wanted to stand down because I didn't want to do it anymore, and I was just going to go out and work and just sort of start living a normal life. That was okay. Well, I could tell something was going on. Something was going on because the boys weren't very good at hiding the stuff. They were having meetings behind my back. This guy was trying to destroy me. He wanted to destroy me, and he wanted to.
It's like a coup.
Yeah, it was all it was. But I mean, he didn't need to. No. I mean, I was happy to hand it over to him.
Anyway,
I wanted to hand it over to him. So I knew something was up. So I thought, well, I'm gonna. The partner that I had at the time, we went out, started working out at on a dairy farm, and I knew I could feel something was up. So I started putting my cars in that away. I had El Caminos and El Camino and some other V8s, and I sort of put cars away at friends' houses and sort of kept it, just keep one step ahead, because I knew I couldn't go and say, hey, is this, I feel like this is happening, are you doing this? And you just say, how dare you say, he would be like that. So I couldn't really talk about it or get the truth out of them, but I knew something was up, And so what happened was they got to the person that I was with at the time. I was having a bad relationship. I was in a bad relationship at the time as well. The person that I moved out to the dairy farm with, and she had different agendas as well, and they got to her, and they sort of told her, when trying to get him locked up so we can get all his stuff, and we'll cut you in on it and things like that. So she did, and this wasn't a good relationship anyway. I did this person, so I learnt the hard way with that one. So I ended up going to jail for something very minor that got turned into something very big, and I went to jail for that. And then that's when the betrayal really hit me, as I lost my job, lost the place I was living at, lost my girlfriend, and my girlfriend showed them where all my cars and that were. So they went round to every one of my friends who were just straight people, straight innocent people who weren't used to this life. They were just friends of mine who were helping me out and looking after my cars and things like that. Well, they went around to every one of those places and stood over those people and threatened them and made them hand over my vehicles and things like that. So I lost everything. I lost everything when I went to jail for 7 months, only 7 months, and awful damage and things like that. It was just really ridiculous. But so I went to jail for that. All this happened to me while I was in there. I was falling into depression anyway, being with this person. I didn't know what depression was, because I didn't know what it was. I never had depression or whatever. But she was sort of gaslighting me. In hindsight now, I realise now that that's what she was doing. I thought I was the crazy one. That all this bad stuff was happening in our relationship because of me. She was blaming it all on me. But it's different when somebody knows where they're going or something and somebody doesn't. It's easy to manipulate people. So that was happening at the time. I went to jail for they all went around. I wasn't even in jail for a week, and they went around and got all my cars and all my possessions. I had a house bus and everything like that. So I got everything taken from me. I was already in depression before I went to jail, and that just made it worse. I mean, a lot of people think so. It got that bad. I tried to commit suicide. In jail, and it wasn't because I was in jail. It wasn't. I've done a lot of jail all my life. Not all my life, but I've done a lot of jail, lads. And it doesn't worry me. I can get through it. But it wasn't because I was in jail. It was because of what was happening. It was just I just had enough. Had enough of the depression that I was going through, and that's why I don't mind talking about this. I mean, to a lot of people, this would be embarrassing to talk about, but I don't mind talking about it because it shows the power of depression, of someone that's got depression. So when I left the gang, I mean, it was hard enough as it was. I had no support from anybody or anything like that, so I had to do it all on my own. I knew that there was a consequence from leaving the gang. The depression got me so bad that I was thinking of committing suicide, and I just wanted it over. And it wasn't really what was happening to me. It was just a mixture of everything happening to me. And I was getting depression, and I was going down. I'd given up drugs. I'd given up like trying to give up drinking, but I hadn't yet. But I'd given up drugs. I'd been on drugs for a long time, a lot of my life. And so it was all a mixture of things. A mixture of having a bad partner and who had hidden agendas. A mixture of all the boys that I had looked after and helped out, and mates that I'd helped out, well, they had turned on me and wanted to, because of this one person that wanted to destroy me, and he did. He destroyed my life at the time, and so and then getting chucked in jail and having all this taken from me, the depression was that strong that I wanted to commit suicide, but I was trying to talk myself out of it. I was going, you can't do that. You've got 7 children, you've got 7 grandchildren, you've got a big family that loves you, and you'll ruin your children's life for starters. So everyone would be devastated. So it wasn't even enough to stop me. It wasn't even enough to stop me. So I did that. I tried to commit suicide, and when I tried to do it too, I thought, got to make this work. You got to make this happen, because I'm in jail now, and the shame and embarrassment that I'd have living through it, and then having to live on in jail with the shame of trying to kill myself. That's what I thought. So I did a real attempt at it.
Right.
And got rushed to hospital. Saved my life, and then ended up living through it, and sort of and the depression got worse, and went into a deep dark hole, really, pretty much. Got chucked into the ICU unit, because that's what happens.
Just a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's what happens, and it's like in a concrete box,
lights
like
on all
a
the
dog
time,
kennel. You got a camera in there. It's like you're in a dog kennel, and it's you're eating with you get slid a paper plate with your meal on it, with cardboard knife, or cardboard fork and spoon, and it's pretty much, it was like being in a dog kennel. And so that didn't help with the depression. And one of the reasons why it helped me leave the gang as well is because I met this lady called, her name is Tania Whitaker.
Right.
And she's clairvoyant, and she came to do a cleansing on the house, on my kid's mum's house. And I met her, and she shook my hand and said, "Oh, you're really strong, you should be doing what I'm doing." And I didn't know what she was talking about. I went, huh? And what she meant was, she said I had gifts, that spiritual gifts that, and I didn't realise that I had. And so she did a reading on me, and like, she got my trust straight away, because and saying this, my mate that I was saying, my mate Dion, who joined, he had passed as well. He had passed away. So he was my best mate, and my other mate as well, Carl, who I grew up with, and we all used to get up to mischief before I joined the gang. He passed away in a car accident as well. Right. So my closest mates that I had, they all had passed away. I was the only one left out of them. So my father had passed away while I was in jail, and my brother from years ago had passed away. She did a reading on me, and these three people came through, Dion, my father, and my brother, and she was telling me things that they were saying, and like when she told me what my father was saying to me, she said it exactly how he would say it, and things he was saying, sorry about things, and sorry for, and then my brother came in and said, sorry for leaving you behind, you know, and which it all meant something, you know, and when she'd tell me what each person was saying, she'd say it exactly how they say it. See, this person didn't know nothing about me.
How powerful.
It was the first time I'd met her, so I was like blown away. And then the most powerful was when Dion came through. She said, there's a guy who showed me a tattoo of writing on his arm, and I went, what, that one? And she goes, that's it. She goes, he did that, eh? And I went, yeah. And she goes, see, your best mate, you're like brothers. And I went, yeah. She goes, he's a hard case, he's a character. And I went, yeah, that's him. She goes, he's walking around sitting next to you right now, looking at you going, I used to do that all the time. I used to do that. So I knew she was legit straight away. Yeah. And she actually told me about this time, when I was telling you about how we were cracking jokes and we were at war in an intense time. Yeah. I'd never even thought about talking about that to anybody. So no one even knew that.
Right.
And she told me about that. He was saying, she goes, he's talking about this time when you were doing, and I, whoa. And so I knew she was legit. I knew that this was real shit. And so she got my trust straight away.
Right.
We ended up becoming good friends, and she took me under her wing and started showing me the gifts that I had, you know, healing and things like that. So I realised at that stage that was another road to take, another journey for me. So I've got another path to take. I'd rather be doing this, the spiritual work, you know. And so it was really intriguing to me. And what she told, I didn't believe her at first. Like, what do you mean I can do this and I can do that? She goes, you can read people, you can speak to spirits, and you're healing, you can heal people. And then I was going, what? And she was right. She was right. She started showing me things, and we'd go to people's houses, do cleanse their houses and things like that. And then I'd start seeing things, and I'd start talking, like seeing little pictures and like flashing my head in front of my eyes, and people showing me things, and then like hearing, seeing things, and then I started helping spirits that were stuck and lost, and helping them cross over and things like that. And it was just amazing. It was just amazing. I just loved it, and I thought, well, this is unreal. It's like magic, and I'd never even had any idea. No. And I probably in my life earlier, I probably wasn't ready for that anyway. But so So that's what I've been doing with this person. So that was another reason why I left the gang and that anyway. So yeah, so back to where I was in the dog kennel and in the ICU unit.
Yep.
But I mean, I was in a really deep dark hole. I wanted to crawl into a dark hole and never come out. That's how bad I felt. So but I ended up coming. It was the spirituality that Tans had taught me and showed me that got me out of it. I mean, I came out of my cell into a little wee yard, concrete yard, had a cage over it, and there was a little bit of sun shining through in the corner, and I went and stood in the sun, closed my eyes, and boom, I got a vision. Wow. I just got this really strong vision. It was I don't really want to explain it, but this was really clear, really strong, and I felt like this was God showing me something, and I felt just a loving feeling and a warm, loving feeling. So, and I opened my eyes and I thought, whoa, that was freaky, that was out of it. So I went to the phone and rang her up and she told me what that was all about and things. And from that day onwards, I got better. I started getting better and better and better. Came out of the ICU unit, went back to the unit, and I just started bringing myself out of the depression and started getting better and better. And it was this thought that that everything happens for a reason, and started to think about everything more positive instead of everything negative and the dark stuff. And that every day I just got better and better and better, stronger and stronger. And I didn't care about anyone. I actually became free. I felt it. I felt I was on I had a cell by myself, right? And I was going through a lot of grief and that for what I'd lost, and I wasn't ready to get out, right? And I was going, I can't get out yet because I wanted to get out and have revenge on these people that had taken my cars and done things to me and like that. So, but then I had to try it, but that was keeping me in a dark place. So I had to stop thinking like that. And so I started thinking about my spiritual side and started working on that. And I started reading a lot of books on our souls and things like that. And I mean, I didn't turn religious, but very spiritual, spiritual, like the universe and our souls and spirits and things like that. So
it's almost like a higher calling and a sense of purpose as well. There, with that.
I started realizing while I was in jail, because I started feeling free. Like I was in jail, but I was free, and it was the irony of it is this: I was sitting there and I thought, I had to come to jail to be free. And I actually feel free. I didn't care that I was in prison. I was reading books, and I would just go out and I'd just spend time by myself. I'd sit in the yard and then I'd see other prisoners and that other guys and mates going up, and they're on the phone and they're like arguing with their missus, and then they're smashing the phone, and they're getting off the yelling and screaming, going fuck.
And then you're like, fuck, you broke the phone.
Oh, you fucking but then and I'd sort of look at it and I'd look around at everybody and I just felt sorry for everyone. I just felt sorry for everybody because I knew that they weren't feeling free like I was, and I was healing. I was getting healed. I was healing myself, and I soon realized that that all of this. This is what happened. I got to tell you about this because I started seeing little signs since then. And like I was sitting in my cell, and it was afternoon. It was an afternoon lockup, and there was a real boring sort of movie on in the afternoon. I wasn't really listening to it, and I'd been asked by Tans. She said, "You need to write a book about your life." So I thought better time as any to start this. So I was sitting there and I was writing things, which was actually very healing as well, because I had to think back of things that I had never thought about or gone back to. In years and years, and really emotional times like my brother dying and things like that. I've never talked to anybody about that. So as I was writing things, I had to remember my feelings, my emotions at the time, my thoughts, and and what was going on. So it brought me to tears a couple of times writing this book. So and as I was writing this book, I got to this part and I thought, put it down, and I was going, hang on. I was never really a bad person. Even when I was in the gang, I've done some bad things, but when I'd done those bad things, I felt bad about it. Even when I had a fight, when I had a fight and I beat the guy up and he's lying on the ground, and I'm thinking, I felt sorry for that guy, even though he started it, you know. And I sort of, everyone thought that I liked violence, but I never ever did. I hated it, hated violence, and it was just a necessary thing to do. It was survival. It was survival in the life that I had. So I was thinking to myself, I was going, why is this happening to me? Why I shouldn't have this sort of bad karma? Why is this going on? Right at that moment, this guy on TV piped up and said, sometimes a life needs to be destroyed to have a new beginning.
In that moment.
Right in that moment, as I thought that. And it was just one of those signs that out of it. And so that's always really stuck with me, you know. And that's why I always go back to remember that. I miss my cars, I miss my bikes, I miss my all my material stuff. Possessions. And then that's when I started realising as well. And so I always go back to that moment. Sometimes the life needs to be destroyed to have a new beginning. So start beginning your next life. Yeah, that's right. And it picked me up. It picked me up, and I took that moment, and I just got better and better and better. And I always thought everything happens for a reason, whether it's good or bad. You know. So I don't think of any of the bad reasons. Bad things happen to everybody.
Absolutely.
They make you stronger, for one. Yeah. They make you. You need to learn them. It's happening to you because that's something you need, and what maybe help your children later on in life, or help somebody else later on in life.
There's a purpose.
There's a purpose for everything. So therefore, I believe that there's no bad things that happen because it's actually a good thing.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I was getting better and getting stronger, and it actually ended up like I'd be sitting there reading my book out in the yard or in the wing, and then these guys would be shit here, and then so I started people started being drawn to me and coming and sitting at my table. And I so I put my book down, hey bro, and then they were like, hey mate,
you were that guy in the wing.
Yeah, I was like, you know, like like those prison movies, and then there's always that old wise guy, with the book. the one that is clever, that's got all the good advice. I was that guy. And I sort of had a giggle to myself now and then, thinking, oh shit, I'm that guy. I've become that guy, and I didn't really care about having any company or anything, but people just come and sit at my table. And,
they could probably sense the inner peace that you were feeling, you know.
Yeah, like, just probably drawn to me, or you know. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I'd give them like advice. I go, so you're not going on too well with the missus. And then they go, yeah, bro, fucking. So what's going on? They'd say things like, oh, fucking, she won't answer the phone anymore, and fucking this. I think she's fucking around. And I said, bro. I said, you have to remember that you put yourself in here. It's not her fault. It's not your children's fault. You have to put yourself in her shoes. Yeah. You put yourself in here, right? I said, she's the one doing it hard. She's doing that prison sentence. Her and your kids are doing prison sentence with you. Yeah, they have to come into this shit place, get patted down, strip searched, fucking get treated like shit. You know, come in here in a terrible fucking place, see you for fucking an hour or an hour,
and they're missing out on having you at home and everything.
They have to buy you they put money in your account every week so you can have munchies and things like that. Your missus is on the benefit, for fuck's sake. And so they're doing your sentence with you, bro. You have to remember. And then you're accusing them of fucking reaching around or whatever. Well, even if she is, that's your fault because you put yourself in here. She wouldn't be if you're out there. No. You know? But you don't even know that. No. I says, but so why put yourself through that? Why put her through that? That's why she's not answering the phone anymore, bro, because she's coming onto the phone and you're saying, and you're accusing her of fucking around or whatever. Bro, just try this next time. Next time when she does finally answer the phone, try giving her some support. Asking if she's all right, if the kids are all right, because bro, honestly, she doesn't want to. She gets anxiety when that phone rings. And she goes, oh no, he's going to go and he's going to fucking accuse me of this and that. It's because she doesn't want to answer the phone, bro. You know, so I'll be giving them advice like that, and they go, oh yeah, and then I'd see them trying it next time. They come back, go, bro, you're right. Fuck, she's coming to visit me this, you know, and I was going, and that would make me feel good. It would make me feel good that I helped them, but I could see it. I could see it because I didn't care. I didn't care about all the bad shit that was going on around the world or in there. I just was healing myself, you know, and once I was doing that and just being okay with being by myself and being alone and not worrying about what all the bad shit that was going on, the negative shit, I started seeing all the negative stuff.
Seeing it for what it is.
Seeing it and seeing all these poor cunts. Sorry, these poor guys that are in there and doing it hard. And I remember doing legs like that when I had a missus and I was all the worry and the fighting and all that sort of shit. And it doesn't get you anywhere.
No.
Just don't go to jail.
No, that's right. It's that simple.
Yeah, and it's not about money. If you got no money, it'd rather be poor and free than rich and in jail. You know,
and that's why it's like you said earlier. You know, it's worth everyone doing it.
I think everyone should do it. It turns you into a completely different person once you've been there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, it goes one way or the other.
And that's it. A lot of people, they take that whole lifestyle on, and other people, they're out. Yeah, and they're never coming back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I've seen that. I've seen a lot of people do that. They've just completely changed their lives.
Yeah.
And for the better.
Yep.
Yeah.
What advice would you give others about the dangers of gang involvement?
Well, of course, there's the obvious. You could die.
Yeah,
you could die. The peer pressure, meaning, like, if your brothers are going into war, you have to be there.
Yeah.
If something's going on, you have to drop everything and be there for them. Yeah. Otherwise, that's part of the brotherhood thing.
It doesn't matter what you've got organised in your life. Yeah. That stops.
You've got to drop family, drop everything, and go running to that. So be prepared for that. Be prepared and be prepared for jail, because you're going to do jail. Yeah. If you're a gang member, you're going to do jail at some stage, and it's going to happen. It's inevitable. And,
a lot of people probably believe that they can get into the gang lifestyle and avoid jail. Yeah,
because they think they're too clever. They're clever enough to stay out of it. Yeah. No one is. No one is. Everyone does jail. Yeah. And the peer pressure, like I said, with if you need to be there for your brother, you have to be there. You have to be there. There's no getting out of it. Yeah. Otherwise, don't even sign up for the gang. Yeah. Yeah. Another thing is be prepared for the police. Like the police you'll never get left alone. No. You'll get pulled over. You'll get harassed. You'll get hassled for the rest of your life. Even when you leave the gang, it won't matter. No. You'll still be that person. Your family will be harassed. They'll never let you live it down.
You're a target.
You're definitely a target. Yep. And once you're known, you're known, and you'll never be unknown. Yeah. Yeah. You know? So be prepared for that. Yep. It's definitely a change of lifestyle, and you've got to be ready to handle it or do it well. Yep.
And that when too, that it's not just when they go to war, they're actually after you as well. It's not just your brothers that are fighting; it's actually you. You become a target to the other gangs. Yeah. If there's issues between gangs and things could escalate quite quickly for you.
Yeah, definitely. They you've got to take this into account as well. If you go to war with another gang, well, 5-10 years later, you might leave that gang and have a change of life, and you might even go to be a Christian or whatever happens. You might leave that gang. You might want to live a family life. You run into those same people, they're gonna want you. They're gonna want retaliation on you, and that just because you left the gang, that won't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's you. They see.
It's you. They remember you were part of that. That shot at them or beat their mate up or whatever. You will always be that target.
You'll be answerable as that person
for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, even when you're old and you can't fight anymore, you're still got to get. If they drive you or drive past you or whatever, you've got to get.
It'll be some young fellow who's got a point to prove. Yeah. He's going to say, I got him. Yeah, I got him. Yeah.
Get that. They want that trophy.
Yeah, that's right.
It never leaves you.
No.
Never leaves you.
Yeah.
You can get out of it, but it's. I mean, with me, I just don't worry about things like that anymore. I'm not gonna let it define my life. No. I don't not go places because I might run into those people or those people. I don't care anymore. I'll take it. I mean, that was that was my life then. If it happens to me now, it happens to me. I mean, my life has been destroyed. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm not going to carry on destroying it myself.
No, you can't, and you can't live in fear. Everyone. There's a risk of bad things happening to all of us. Yeah. But we can't just wait for that to happen. We've just got to allow it to happen if it's going to. Yeah. And do the best to mitigate it, because you're doing good things. You've got good things planned, and you may find that you're lowering your risk of bad things happening because people will see that.
Like if you were to ask me the question, how do I feel now being out of the gang? I'd say the word, it comes to mind is freedom.
Right.
I mean, I feel free, even though you have to. I'd have to watch out for running into old rivals and things like that. I can't worry about that.
No.
I mean, because otherwise I'm not free.
Yeah.
If I let that trouble me, if I let that trouble my head,
yes,
I'm not feeling free.
Yep.
I mean, but I feel free because I don't care about that sort of thing. And I think now I've been in a different mentality and not having to. See, and that's a part of it. Another freedom, part of freedom is that I don't have to do anything.
No.
I don't have to, live up to the gang's expectation or anything because there is no gang anymore. It's me, and I don't need to do anything about it. I don't need to retaliate. I don't need to
you get a choice.
Prove myself.
Yeah.
I can have a choice to do it. And I think now, if I did run into any rival, my mindset's that different now that it would be different.
Yeah.
It would be different anyway.
Yep.
And so I think I'd handle it a lot different.
Yep.
I'd still defend myself, but if I had to, but I think I'd deal with this whole situation a lot differently. And because I don't care about the staunchness of it anymore.
No.
I don't care about, and there's no shame in that. I mean, I feel like I'm a bigger man now than I ever was.
Isn't that funny? It's probably tied into like emotional maturity in that the gang lifestyle is probably more of a young man's game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's the bravado. It's the I want to do what I want to do. I don't want the rules. And there's probably a sense of freedom that comes with young fellas joining the gang.
Yeah,
they feel a sense of freedom in that they're like, I can do what I want. You know, and that you know.
But what they're doing is actually locking themselves into a situation. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so. Yeah, no, I do, but I definitely feel free now, and not because I think not only just because of the gang. I think because of my spirituality now, and being and taking that journey and walking down that path now. It's just such an enormous freedom feeling, and there's a whole nother world out there, and it's all just really positive. It's all positive. I mean, now I'm healing people now. I'm not hurting people.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working in with Tarn's working now and all that. We're starting up a business and things like that. We're doing healings and healings and readings and psychic readings and things like that. So it's all good. It's all good. And cleansing houses and doing so. We're not only helping the humans, who are helping the people that are passed and sort of stuck as well. So, and it's an amazing world to be in.
I can imagine it'd be very fulfilling.
Definitely, yeah. And like we haven't even touched the tip of it yet. I mean, there's so much. There's so much out there that we don't know about.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
It's amazing. It's amazing. This person, Tan, she completely changed my life. She saved my life, you know, and I got a lot of respect and admiration for her, and I trust her with everything. And so it's all about, it's all about keeping myself good and positive and carrying on. I mean, I'm not perfect yet. I'm not there yet. I mean, I still got a long way to go. You know, and I've only been sort of doing this for 3 years odd now, and of course I work right on a farm now. I'm still dairy farming, and so that takes up a lot of my time. But I think what I want, my goal is, I'm not going to be dairy farming forever. I'm just going to stay loyal to my boss at the moment because he gave me the chance, and he, being a gang member and everything, he helped me in there. So
it's a big deal, isn't it, when people give you that chance?
And so I appreciate that a lot, and so I'll stick with him until probably the end of the season, and then. But I really want to get into doing counselling work and sort of help the youth before they sort of hit the gates. Just I might not help everybody that I talk to, but if I can help some and make them realise what they're doing, and sort of well, then it's worth it, you know. And also, I really want to focus on helping gang members that want to leave but don't know how, because that's what happened to me. I had no support and I had no help doing it, and it was one of the hardest things I had to do, and it turned out a terrible ordeal. But I want to look at. I want people out there to know that there's somebody, you know, there is a way. There is a way, and it took me years to leave the gang, and only because and especially where I was, coming from president and stepping off that pedestal and just thinking I could just jump into a normal life and just live a normal life like everyone else. It's not like that. It's not that like easy, that. Not when you've been living a gang life for those years. You can't just step out of there and then just completely walk another path. It's not like that. I was so used to the survival skills that I had picked up to live in that life that you can't just let those go.
No,
you know?
That's right.
You have to deal with straight people, working people and things like that. And you got to deal with situations and people not like you used to.
No.
Like you can't just say, fuck, you know, or punch or hit them or something, or intimidate them while being a gang. You can't do that because you end up just get locked up.
They'll just call the cops straight away, and then the cops already know who you are.
And they'll be happy to oblige them. But so you have to deal with everything differently. You have to learn how to deal with normal people differently. And it's not an easy transformation. You know?
I can imagine.
Transition. So very, very hard to do. But I'm getting there. I mean, I've come a long way. To where I was.
Yeah, I think you're doing really well. Like it's like you say, that's a huge portion of your life that has really shaped your identity, and then reinventing your identity, especially when you're older, is it's massive. I don't think anyone can really understand what that's like until they go through it themselves.
Exactly, I didn't realise what it was going to be like. No. I thought it'd be easy, and it definitely wasn't.
Like I'm just going to wake up one day and I'll be that new person. It's like, no, actually it takes some time.
I'm just going to step over it with this. I'm going to step over this picket fence.
I'm not with you guys anymore.
It definitely wasn't like that, mate.
No.
But, it was a very hard thing to do. So just what I'm looking at, want to do. I believe now that I've lived a life so I can help others. And I lived that life for a reason. And I think who better to help others than somebody that's lived it.
100%. That lived experience is more valuable. What I've learned, especially in the last year or two, is that lived experience is more important than any degree or any bit of paperwork you can do, any bit of study. You've got the option to study at any time, and you can learn what tricks and secrets are out there in terms of helping people that exist, but you are going to be able to apply your life lessons. And there'll be counsellors and things and people in all sorts of roles that if you were to ask them questions and you say, hey, what do you think I should do? Or, do you know what this is like? They'd go, I don't know, open their book, Whereas for you go, mate, I know all about that.
I didn't read it in a book. There was no manual for... You lived it. There was no playbook or anything to show me how to live that life. You had to find it out for yourself and just do it.
It's like would you, if you wanted to know about parenting, would you want to go and talk to someone who studied some parenting or someone who has kids?
That's right.
You know, like you really should talk to the person who has a parent. Like realistically, that's the thing. It's like if you're like, fuck, my 5-year-old, I just don't know what to do here. But then you got friends who have a 10 and a 7-year-old. You're like, well, they've probably had a 5-year-old before. They have. So I'll ask them what they did with 5-year-olds,
Someone that's actually done it.
Who's done it.
That's right.
That's the most valuable thing.
So moving on in my life, is I want to get stronger with my spirituality. I want to put myself out there, and me and Tans are starting up a business doing healing and spiritual readings and things, and so I'm definitely going to throw myself into that role as well. And then at the same time try and help people as much as I can, because I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. And I feel like it's giving back as well. I'm not living on the wrong side of life now. I feel I need to give back, and it makes me feel good to want to do that.
You got some karma to offset.
Yes, pretty much.
That's the way I see it. I mean, there's been plenty. I think about the harm that I've done in society, because I've caused harm through the illegal things that I've done. And a lot of the illegal things that I've done was supply of illicit substances. I would have definitely caused, while, these people would justify it, and a lot of drug dealers do, and I did at the time too, justify it that I am helping them achieve a goal.
Right.
With steroids, it was the case.
Yeah.
With other things, it was a bit more like, they want to get high, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's so much harm that comes with that. There's family violence. There's all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And
You're fueling it.
Yeah, fueling it. And you're fueling confusion and chaos and mental health issues and all sorts of things,
Yeah. I used, sorry, mate. I used to say to people, I'm a drug dealer. Yeah, I'm a drug dealer, but I'm not selling it to anyone that doesn't want it.
No, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that used to justify it to myself.
Well, I used to say, at least I'm not selling meth, or at least I'm not selling meth to school kids, or something like that. And people would be like, yeah. But I'm like, actually, but I'm still selling something that's illegal for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's when it came to medicines, even it was like, well, these things, maybe we should have access to this as men. Maybe we should have testosterone, but it's like, actually, no, there's a reason doctors oversee this kind of stuff, because you're fucking with your body quite bad, and a lot of people would take it and not know how it's going to affect them. Right. So there is that risk of harm. But look, you learn these things as you go, eh?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, probably a little late in my life to learn, but I mean, I still think of it like it happened when it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And my change and everything, and my spiritual, I probably wouldn't have grasped it so much earlier in my years, because I wasn't ready for it.
Yep.
I'm ready for it now, and however long I've got left in my life, I want to do good by that, and do the best I can, and do it all positively, and be there for my family. And I love my family so much. I got like 7 children and 7 grandchildren, and I just want to do the best for them and be there for my family. And I lost my mum a couple of months ago, so there was another bit of a downer for this, but it's that I realised that none of us are here forever.
No,
there's one thing in life that you're sure about, and it's death. So before I go, I wanted to do the best for my family and help as many people as I can. So I want to throw myself into that.
I've got no doubt that you will.
Thanks.
And I think you're very capable and able to do all that, and especially because of that lived experience. Yeah. I think that's everything that we've got. And is there anything else that you'd like to say or put out there?
No, I think I can't think of anything else.
We've got it all out.
Yeah, good. I think we've got to do another one at some stage too as well with Tanya. I think.
I'd love to. Because I'd love to do, like I said to you, I'd love to learn more about clairvoyancy as well. Yeah. And just that whole side of things, and I think she'd be a really awesome person to meet. Yeah,
definitely. It'll. I think whoever's listening or is interested in this story, that it'll clarify a lot too from where what I've said about the clairvoyancy and the spirituality. So when we do a session on that with Tans, it'll be a lot more clearer. That'll explain all that side of things a lot more.
Well, I can link her as well in this episode, so to if she's got a business page or a number or something, or even a social media, I can put her in the description, so anyone who's interested in getting in touch with her can do that. And also yourself too, if there's an email address or something I can put in there. It just means there might be people in similar situations to you that maybe are looking at leaving a gang or have friends that are in a gang or something like that. Maybe they might be able to talk to you, just get a bit of perspective or some advice.
Well, I've just started up a Instagram page.
Cool.
Because I wasn't on Instagram. Instagram, and so I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But
I'll get it afterwards.
But I can give you my email, and which is knga13zzz@gmail.com. And I also have a Facebook page, Messenger as well, Kev Ngawhare.
Okay. I'll chuck the links in the description anyway, to be nice and easy for people to just click on. Okay, cool. But I want to thank you for coming in and sharing all of that.
Thanks, mate. It's been great being here. I'm happy to speak about what I spoke about. Thank you.
Cool. No worries. And we will have you on again soon.
Thank you very much. Cool. Cheers, Josh.